Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Who's Joe YouTube Edition.
Who's Joe?
Who the is Joe?
Who's Joe?
Who's Joe?
Who's Joe?
Yeah. Who is Joe?
Today I am here with Runesun, and why don't you go ahead and tell us a little about yourself?
Hi, I'm Runesun, and I have been, I'm a Satisfactory streamer. I've been doing that since September. I kind of just started on a whim, so that's pretty much all I do right now.
Alrighty. So what I do at this point is I'm going to ask you the first question. We'll do a countdown into the staring contest, and we will start the staring contest when you start answering the first question. So how are you at staring?
I tried a few times before this and realized that the moment I start talking, I'm probably going to start blinking. So I don't expect this is to go very well for me.
Yeah, most people have told me that it's harder to not blink when you're talking and when you're thinking. So that's why in the last video, I got Jace to flip the tables on me and ask me some questions to show that I could do the same thing, that I could go without blinking while I'm talking.
After watching a few of them, I have no doubt.
All right. First question, same first question as always. If you could collaborate with anybody in the world on anything, who would it be? And we will count down now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so I think that since I have not done this for very long, I haven't really given a lot of thought to collaborations, and I've been playing Satisfactory mostly as a solo game, but I think that it's something that could be really fun. There you go, blinked. That didn't last long. But to continue on, I think I would really enjoy to jump into Josh's world. Now, people might think that I'm crazy for thinking that and for anyone who doesn't know, I figure most people do, but Josh is Let's Game It Out from YouTube. He started streaming. He raided me a little while ago, so we have a nice little banter relationship in chat. It's been a lot of fun, and I think I want to jump into his world, and not to clean things up. Like, I've got a really nice factory and a castle and stuff. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But and everyone who knows probably knows he's got spaghetti everywhere.
I did this mess of a conveyor belt system. I also did this even bigger mess of a conveyor belt system. And then I made this tornado out of conveyor belts.
But I actually find it somewhat cathartic. And then, I could just draw belts anywhere and I wouldn't have to worry about it at all, which is totally new for me. So I think just to jump into his world and do things I wouldn't do, like create a wall of hypertube entrances that one of them might take him up to his conveyor tornado and the rest of them shoot him into space. And he'll have to remember which one, right? Do things like that I would never do in my own world, but would be fun to do, with him. Or, whatever we decide to do.
Well, he wouldn't remember which one, or he would remember the wrong ones on purpose.
Absolutely.
Just to shoot himself into space.
Absolutely.
I would
guaranteed.
I would imagine that his world would drive you absolutely mad.
It's funny. People call that out in chat after they've come over to my stream. Pretty regularly, and I actually think that I would find it other than that I wouldn't be able to find anything anywhere, and he actually was making jokes that if you press F in the game you can pull up the deconstruct and you can actually see what's in constructors or in storage containers, and I think he's dubbed that the Runesun method because I was calling him out and trying to get him to do it in chat once. It's definitely not my method. I learned that from other people, if I wouldn't be able to find anything. So that part would probably annoy me, but the actual building and, to just drag things around to almost stay with his style would actually be kind of fun, I think.
Well, those who have watched my videos before know at this point I am going to attempt to go the rest of the interview without blinking as well. Let's see if I can do it. So,
as someone who just failed in 5 seconds, I'm all completely impressed by the fact that you could possibly do this.
Well, thank you. What made you want to talking take 2? What made you decide to want to start streaming?
Funny enough, I've been lurking Twitch since 2011. I played StarCraft. I watched people who are better than me play StarCraft, try to get better at it. Same thing with League of Legends after that. then when it came to Satisfactory, I found myself wanting to actually engage with the people who were playing the game. I wanted to talk about why they might have done something in a build, or share my idea, or be like, hey, did you know you could do this? And like, I don't know, I felt like I really wanted to be part of the community more. And it was really hard for me to describe, hey, try this thing, right? It was easier to say, hey, or just start streaming and be able to be like, hey, if you, want to check something out. Now, we never do that in someone's stream. Like, I'm very big about like not advertising myself, but like, I would whisper them afterwards and be like, hey, blah, 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 I was talking about this. If you're interested, I was over here. And that was all. I did that at the beginning, right? Funny enough, that got me a few raids. So, some people actually put me on the map. And so, yeah, I think just to be able to share what I was doing in the game, that's what got me into streaming.
So what do you enjoy about Satisfactory?
So Satisfactory isn't the first Factory game I've played. I liked Factorio. I even liked, I can't remember what it's called, but it was like you had to build like pharmaceuticals or something. I don't remember what the game was called. But, like anything where you're just building and trying to automate things, I find interesting. I've got a developer background, and so I think that it just scratches that same itch.
You mentioning your dev background kind of leads perfectly into the next question. How has having a background in development affected how you yourself play games?
Well, specifically with Satisfactory, I find that following it's called a single responsibility principle in development, right? Where if you make things only do one thing, then you have less to fix if you want to change something, right? And that actually lends very well into factory building and Satisfactory, because if you are only building modular frames, right, and say iron ingots is the only thing you're taking in, then, or you have the ability to take whatever ingots that you want into the factory, you can get new alternate recipes in the game, which change how you might build something and usually get more output. So I could only build how it was base, and then I output modular frames. And I could change just that one little piece, right, in the center, take in steel now, and still output modular frames, but the whole insides is now making steeled frames, let's say, or something like that, which is just a faster output of modular frames. I know I'm getting into the specifics of the game right now for anyone who isn't playing, but you should be. You should be. But the whole modular aspect of building has been something that's been useful.
Can you ever see yourself playing a game the way Josh does and intentionally trying to break it?
Not a chance. I think I actually said that yesterday, funny enough, when I was watching. I was like, you know what? I have huge respect for him being able to do it, because I just couldn't. I'd go insane trying to find where things are. Oh, no, it wouldn't happen. I think I could jump in, like I said, and, work within that frame, but to do it to myself, yeah, no.
Now, anybody who's watched your stream knows that you have these epic, wonder of the world level builds. What do you think is your most epic build?
So I really like the boat. So for anyone who's not been there, boats aren't in the game, right? But there's another streamer named Last Pen Fighter who built a boat on his stream, and I was watching him, and his looks like a casino riverboat sort of thing, right? Like that's the look he was going for. So, and I made a container ship, right? And just kind of to homage to him, I actually named it the SS Pen Fighter on the back of my boat, just to kind of call him out and let people know that's where my inspiration came from. But yeah, I have a boat that sneaks copper ore on and then outputs 1,500 copper ingot or copper sheets off a crane. So it looks like it's not doing anything unless you look closely. And like that aesthetic of like making it look like it wasn't doing anything, but it's actually this giant factory with 112 refineries on it, was something that was really fun to try and do. And it took like 6 weeks. We were building other things while on stream and stuff. And there was some inspiration that came out of chat. I love talking to chat about these builds. And so they're definitely involved. One of my mods, Peaceful Golem, actually came up with a little bit of how we did the crane. So I just, it gives you something to like build your content around when you choose a large project like that.
So obviously the the Satisfactory streaming community is somewhat intertwined. You see Josh, you see Sarah. What is that like?
Well, actually, the Satisfactory community is probably one of the most close-knit communities of streamers where everybody just wants to see everyone else succeed. And, we're always checking out everybody else's streams. Like I will forget some, but like I could name a whole bunch of people who've been giant inspirations for me when it comes to streaming. There's been Runesun Gaming, there's Pitch It, Amelie of the Sea does some of the best builds out there, right? And so like just for like Matt, like she built Stargate Atlantis in Satisfactory. Like, so like there's so many creators out there of all sizes that are just doing amazing things. And I always try to raid at the end. Sometimes I don't raid within it, but like I usually try to raid, and usually once a week I'll raid someone who I've never seen before and just like roll the dice and be like, what do you got? And we stumbled into someone named Fubar89 who had like a subway train system underneath the map. I'm like, and I can't forget as well too, I actually hang out in the same Discord as Cobalt Valkyrie, who has probably more hypertubes entrances than people have power. And also BL Andrew 575, who is all about tapping every resource on the map and doing the biggest builds. He actually had a 475 nuclear reactor build, which is just, it's all inspiring, right? And I don't mean to be name dropping everyone. I think I'm kind of making the point that like every streamer in Satisfactory watches other streamers because they want to see and get inspiration from everyone else.
So say that Snoot and Jace came to you and said, what's one thing you would want to change about Satisfactory as it is now? What would that one thing be?
So I'll start off with saying that I'm actually completely on board with the idea of not doing a full-blown blueprint system. Mostly because I feel like it'll cause a copy-paste mechanism. Like when I played Factorio, I just grabbed a bunch of blueprints and just almost cookie cutter put it the way together that I wanted to do, right? And I think the aesthetic aspect of Satisfactory would take too much away if you did that. But that said, there are some things that you do repeatedly. Like, I don't want full-on smart mod. I think smart mod is fantastic, but I find that if I have the ability to place like 1,000 foundations, I'm going to place 1,000 foundations. But if it was 10 by 10 as a max, or the ability to do like 10 tall conveyor stack with all the belts automatically in one go, that would be useful and doesn't take anything away from the game. It just allows you to like do some of the copy paste logistics that you have to do when you're dragging things far easier. So basically, not so much blueprints, but maybe an easy cut and paste with a lot of restrictions around it would be actually really good.
So 5 years from now, where do you see yourself being as a streamer?
Well, considering streaming wasn't something that I really thought I was going to be. Let me take a step back. So when I started in September, my expectations were nil. I was like, I'm going to turn this button on, which is basically the way that everyone says don't start streaming, right? Like, because you have no audience, no one knows who you are, you're at the bottom of the page listings. And I think that my timing just happened to be really good with where the Satisfactory community was in September. Like you needed like 6 people to get into the top 10 of the channel page. That I've been, I managed to do stuff. I also was forced into my time slot. So really, I don't see 5 years from now being much different than that because I enjoy what I do for a living and I love doing my late night slot in streaming, right? And it's blown up way beyond what I would have expected normally. A lot of that has to do with Josh's influence and raids and stuff like that, bringing a whole bunch of eyeballs into what I've been doing. But even before that, I had like 20 people, and that was absurd to me, right? Like 20 folks caring about what I'm building.
So with Jace having been in the last video and you being in this video, it almost seems like the path of my staring contest videos is kind of turning into like a 7 layers of separation from Josh. How did you become in contact with Josh, and just how has that developed?
So having been in the Satisfactory community, I happened to actually get featured on one of the dev streams. The boat, pictures of the boat ended up on the community highlights. Just coincidentally with the fact that Josh happened to be the guest on that stream, which was really cool. Now I don't know whether or not he remembered that at all or like pay attention to Runesun. I highly doubt that actually. But what that did was that let me know that like, hey, he's actually in contact with the developers and stuff. And so he started streaming, and I knew that before he announced it on YouTube. So basically, I rated him when he only had 500 people in his chat. And so there's all these suns and all these things, and I had the sunniest raid on Twitch, because Runesun. I guess that just like he remembered. And then coincidentally, he streams late. I stream late. So he was able to reciprocate with a raid on me like a little while later. And I'd been commenting in his chat and stuff like that. And so he raided me. And he dropped 2,500 people on my head one stream, and that was super exciting, considering I'd never had more than like 100 from a previous raid that I'd had. That was like my previous super big raid, right? And so yeah, I raided him, and then he raided me like a week later on the night that he had actually announced and had 2,500 people, which was just super convenient. And he liked what he saw. He saw the boat that he'd seen again. He remembered that at that point. And so, I try to help out and with his builds and then chat and all that stuff. And yeah, so basically that's my connection to Josh.
So if you could build, like, if say you decided to do one huge epic build, like bigger than the builds you've already done, what do you think you would want to build?
So I guess we can kind of talk about the one that we're working on actually. So we didn't talk about it, but I have a giant castle. My main build is a giant castle, right? So that actually came out of the fact that I have like a looping bus that goes around. So I had these I basically had it built out that way, which is actually kind of a funny story because I made a friend of mine that was playing. I'm going aside here, but I was playing with a friend of mine. I got him to run around the world making this bus for me, and then I stopped playing with him and started my own world and built it again. But so we've got the castle. I'm building a giant artifact in the sky now, right? I found a place above the waterfalls, and it's going to be a giant like diamond in the sky, and I'm kind of dubbing it my alien artifact. And there is a mod in the game called Refined Power. Like I said, I don't mod much, but we brought in this mod, and because it has this thing called a Dyson Sphere, that is going to revolve around us having to build an immense amount of things to be able to feed into this thing. And once you do, it shoots a giant beam of light into the sky. Right? So it's basically going to be this diamond in the sky that's going to be kind of open in the center that's going to have this giant beam of light going in the sky when we finally complete the build. So that's my newest, biggest build that we're working on. It'll probably take me months to do.
That sounds incredibly epic.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully update 4 doesn't break everything about my save, because starting over right now seems very daunting.
Oh, that would be awful. That would be absolutely awful. Well, we are now 23 minutes into the video. I think I've got enough footage to go with, and I've gone the whole time without blinking. So
I concur with that.
I am now 23-0, and I will get you to do what all the previous people have done and say, I was not able to beat Joe in a staring contest.
I definitely was not able to beat Joe in a staring contest. I don't think anyone can.
So if you could call out anybody or anybody to be on the other end in one of these interview videos with me, who would that be?
I think that Runesun Gaming has a fantastic personality, and I think he would be a great person to have on the stream. So I'm going to call out Runesun Gaming.
Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. I was too busy pillaging a village.
Well, there you go, Runesun Gaming. You have been called out to be a guest in one of my staring contest / interview videos. I would love to have you on the other side. What do you have to plug? Tell us about what you're doing, what you've got going on, what you've got coming up, just whatever you have to talk about.
So I think that the biggest thing to mention there is just that you can catch me on twitch.tv/Runesun. I stream every Monday to Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Start for a couple of hours, usually till about 1 a.m. And hopefully YouTube is coming, but I only do that on the weekends, so time is limited. Spend most of the time on the weekends with my family.
completely understand that. Well, that's going to be it for this episode of Who's Joe YouTube Edition. If you haven't already liked the video, go ahead and do that. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. If you haven't already gone to the link to Runesun's Twitch in the video description and followed him, do that. Do it right now. I will stare at you until you go there and come back. All right, now that you've done that, there will be a video that I've recommended down here in the bottom left, a video that YouTube has recommended down here on the bottom right. Watch one of them, watch both of them, watch all of them. Go to Twitch whenever Runesun is streaming, watch him, tell him that Joe has sent you, and I'm sure that he will show you all of his epic builds. And we will see you the next time.